What's up, everyone? Sunny here, along with all my friends from the Be Kind crew. I want to welcome you to Connect2STEM TV, organized by the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix, in partnership with Cox Communications and the Arizona SciTech Festival. That's right, you are about to enter the wonderful world of STEM, where you can learn, discover, and have fun. So let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Connect2STEM Live TV, where we are now going to go inside the Artificial Tissue Lab, and this is part one of our adventures. So now, Meryl, take it away.
Hi there, thank you. Let me just get my PowerPoint started. Okay, hi everyone, I'm Meryl Lapito. I'm a simulation operations specialist from the Arizona Simulation Technology and Education Center. Today, I'm happy to share with you how we use our Makerspace and how we make some of our models that we use for simulation in the lab. Before anything else, I'd like to briefly discuss what healthcare simulation is. It provides education and training opportunities to improve patient safety and help prevent medical errors in the real world. So for example, if I was a patient, I'd definitely be more comfortable knowing that before someone gives me a shot or takes my blood or do any other procedures, that they've had some practice beforehand. And here at ASTEC, that's exactly what they get to do. Practice without worrying about making mistakes so they can focus on learning and getting good at what they need to do in an actual clinical setting. Next, let's talk about what a makerspace is. It's a collaborative workspace for education, exploration, and innovation using a variety of tools and equipment. So makerspace equipment typically includes your 3D printers, laser cutters, and various electrical tools. There are also some materials unique to what the makerspace is used for. So here in our lab, our makerspace also includes materials and equipment for anatomical model making, which I'll talk about in a little bit. First, I want to talk about how we use 3D printing in simulation. Currently, we have two different types of desktop printers. One is our FDM intruder printer, in which we use like a filament plastic material for more common and basic prints. That's what we use about, I would say, 80 to 90% of the time. And then we also have an SLA printer, which uses a liquid resin, which we use for printing more complex and detailed designs. We use them mainly for prototyping original or modified designs to serve as either molds, anatomic models, or inserts that we need to complete a model that we're making. So here you can see a CAD file of our cricothyrotomy holder. If you've never heard of cricothyrotomy before, it's a difficult airway procedure needed in order to properly intubate a patient if it's difficult to intubate them in the normal way. On the right, also, you can see a patient-specific face model, which we have used for an ear, nose, and throat research project that we have done here in the ASTEC lab. So more on 3D printing. Just like we have different types of printers, we also have different materials that we use for different purposes. For example, a PLA, which again is this hard plastic material, prints hard, tough plastic material that we use for printing simulated bones, as you see here, and other hard synthetic materials. You can also see a 3D printed face model here that we use to make our face mold. And on the right is a 3D printed trachea, or your windpipe, printed with a softer elastic material. So for this particular one, we use an SLA printer versus for the bone, and the face mold, we use our FDM printer. Now on to model making. Silicone is a type of polymer widely used in model making. If you've never heard of a polymer before, it's basically a large material made up of smaller repeating units of molecules. And it's everywhere, actually. It's part of our daily lives. Some natural polymer examples are proteins, even our DNA is a type of polymer. Silk, even your hair is also a type of polymer. And some example of synthetic polymers that are common is plastics, different types of plastics, polyester, which is a common fabric that is used to make clothes, is also a polymer. So here in our lab, we use silicone a lot for synthetic models that we make because its properties allow us to replicate different anatomies. It's easy to change some of its properties as well, like the toughness and elasticity, by simply adding different solvents to it. So we like it a lot. And here you can see some examples of our silicone-based models, which is a face model that we've done for the ENT project that I talked about earlier, and also a suture pad with different cuts or lacerations so that students can practice and improve their suturing skills. Now, how are STEM skills applied in healthcare simulation? I would say that careers in healthcare simulation heavily rely on STEM skills, as with a lot of other fields. Like for me personally, my background is in physiology and chemistry, and I use STEM concepts daily here in what I do, whether it's making synthetic models or operating a computer patient simulator. So overall, the science and engineering practices really help in designing simulations to address different issues in healthcare and to continue improving the field. If you see here, here's a picture of the science and engineering practices, which you may be familiar with if you're taking like a middle school or high school science or engineering or STEM class. And then finally, here's a short demonstration on how we make one of our own models that we use in simulation training. Hi everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to make our own intravenous access training pad. We use this model to help train our medical, nursing, and other health sciences students in properly placing IVs, so that they can be more prepared and be familiar with equipment and technique before they actually have to place them in real patients in hospitals or clinics. I'll be using a 2-part silicone to make this IV trainer. Here you'll see me preparing the first layer, where I measure out part A and part B of our silicone components. We can also add different components to this mixture to vary some of its properties, like adding a silicone thinner to make it softer and a little bit more elastic, and adding different pigments or colors. Here we just use a flesh silicone pigment to make it look more like skin. This silicone product has a 5-minute pot life, which is the amount of time you have to work the silicone mixture before it starts to dry. When you mix the two together, that's when the reaction between your components start creating these polymer chains that turns the liquid substances into these elastic solid material. The cure time, which is the time it takes to dry, is 30 minutes. Once we have the base layer, we then add a layer of foam to simulate the connective tissue layer, which includes the body fat or adipose tissue. While waiting for the first layer to dry, I work on prepping the main frame of the trainer, where I insert and loop a long portion of latex tubing, which is used to simulate the blood vessels. Next, I prepare the top silicone layer, which includes the same materials and steps as making the base layer, this time pouring it in the individual rectangle frames, where I have to make sure I pour just enough to get our desired thickness, so I marked how much to fill each one. After 30 minutes or so, it should be ready for the last step, which is taking it out of the frame and cutting it into individual pieces and adding baby powder all over to give it that soft, skin-like feel. And now, here's a quick setup and demo on how one can use it to practice placing IVs. I add some connectors and fill it with fake blood, and now it's ready for use. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the short demo. All right. I hope you enjoyed that little behind the scenes. I'd love to take some questions if there are any. You can also email me at the email projected on the screen. And I'd also like to remind everyone to tune in to next week's ASTEC presentation if you are interested in how we use virtual reality in simulation and training.
That is great, Meryl. We do have some questions for you. What did medical students use before you had the models?
So we're using different types of pretty much daily materials. For example, before we had the silicone suture models, they would use bananas or oranges, right, to peel the skin layer of it and then suture that. But it's not ideal because first they rot and then they can't use them multiple times. So it's really progressed from there.
And why do you use popcorn buckets?
That's a great question. For no particular reason other than it's huge, so we can put a lot in it, and it's also a cheap container.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit more about how the 3D printers are used?
Sure. We mainly use it whenever we want to make a new model that's not already out in the market that we could buy, or if there's a specific procedure that faculty or doctors want to do, but the one that's currently in the market is not suitable for their learning objective, then you would try and modify it. So we use our 3D printers in a way that we can modify a current design or really come up with a new one with, you know, our different 3D printing softwares. And then from there, we can then prototype that, print that, and see if that works for what they need for the training, or if we need to go back, then we modify that and then reprint it. So it helps us a lot in testing out things that we want to try, especially if it's something new. And we also use it a lot for research because that's our secondary mission, second to education and training.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the students who are using the simulation lab there and doing the artificial tissue lab? Tell us a little bit about who they are, where they are in their studies, and why this is so important to them.
Sure, that's a great question. So we are in the University of Arizona Tucson main campus in the health sciences side of the campus. And we provide training for our medical students, pharmacy students, nursing students, and also public health students. And now currently we just started partnering with veterinary science students as well. They're the main groups that come here into ASTEC to do simulation training. Like for example, learning how to place IVs or learning about different airway equipment and how to use them, and also doing patient simulations here instead of doing it in the clinical setting or before they go into the clinical setting. We also get residents, which are full-fledged doctors that train for more complex procedures and trainings. And then we also service first responders like paramedics, flight paramedics, and other private groups.
Wonderful. So this is a great training, safe ground for all of these students, that they're able to practice on what are almost real people, but not really. So they won't actually have any ouches or boo-boos or anything along the way, which is greatly aids in their training and their learning experience. We do have another question. Do you use 3D print prosthetics?
No, currently we are not in the actual medical patient side of things. So everything that we do is for simulation purposes only.
Okay. And Meryl, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why do you like doing what you do, what your job is? Tell us a little bit about your job.
Sure, thank you. So as a simulation operations specialist, I get to see and participate in just about any training that you can think of. This is my second year of working as a simulation specialist, and my background, like I said earlier, was in science, physiology, and chemistry, and I also taught for a little bit in the secondary level. So I was really interested in education, but also in the education side of the medical field. So when I applied for this job, I was really pleased to be doing different types of things every day. It's not doing the same things. I really enjoy that. I enjoy making synthetic models, 3D printing, and I also enjoy working with students and helping them learn about different procedures, operating really cool and advanced like artificial intelligence, patient simulators. So I really like the dynamics of the job that comes with it.
That's great. So when you were growing up, did you have an interest in science and medicine?
I did, yeah. I've always wanted to be in the medical field. I thought I wanted to be like a provider, like a nurse or a doctor. But as I was late into my undergrad career, I really started enjoying the education side of things because I started precepting and I started being a teaching assistant, and I really enjoy seeing how uh, students work. And now I get to contribute to the training of our future and current medical providers. So I enjoy that a lot.
That's great, and thank you for that. What best advice would you give someone, a student, maybe middle or elementary school, that's interested in going into the medical field? What advice would you give them at this point?
My advice, especially if they are in elementary, middle school, or even high school, is to really go out there and seek what the community is offering. You can learn a lot of foundations in the classroom, but as everyone probably knows, it's very specific on what they need to learn and what they need to accomplish. So if they're interested in learning more about a specific career, then I encourage them to go out in the community and see if they can volunteer or intern for that specific field and even just shadow or observe that specific career that they're interested in, especially in the field of medicine, because that's really how you'll be able to see what it's like. It's very different just hearing it or seeing it from movies or TV than actually seeing what they do day to day.
Well, and I also want to encourage our participants today, if you are interested in going into a medical field, stay tuned because every Saturday for the month of February, we're going to be offering sessions like this, Connect to STEM TV. And one Saturday, we're also going to be letting you scrub in as part of our Saturday Scrubs program, where you actually get to talk to a physician and meet some of our medical school students and get to ask them questions. So if you have an interest in that, be sure to tune in for that. All right, well, let's see. Question, how many students are currently using the sim lab there?
Overall, we have over 40 different learner groups. Obviously, we have safety precautions and protocols currently. So we are only allowing for in-person essential trainings. That means if it's needed in order for them to graduate, or if it's a procedure that they need to practice because it directly affects how they do in the clinical setting, then we prioritize those. But we've also been doing virtual simulations, which you'll hear more about next week with my colleague Lucas, talk about that a little bit, how we've utilized virtual simulation and virtual reality, especially in the past year, where we've kind of have to turn into that remote model of simulation. So now we're kind of doing a little bit of both.
Another question is, how much do the machines cost? Do you know?
I'm guessing they're talking about the printers.
Yeah.
I guess it ranges. You can buy a starter desktop printer for a couple $100, like $300 or $400. If you are looking into, getting a more commercial ones, then you can get up to thousands of dollars. So they can get pretty expensive depending on what you need them for.
Good. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add today, Mel?
I think that's it. I just wanted to thank everyone who tuned in, and thank you to Connect2STEM for inviting us. And if you want to learn more about the task trainers, so the actual stuff that we use to train for different procedures, there's a part 2 of this presentation for 2 weeks from now, I believe.
Yes, that's right. So stay tuned, more fun to come. So thank you so much for joining us today, for giving us this wonderful insights. Also, we want to say congratulations to Sarah, who won this session's Connect2STEM t-shirt. It's a new edition this year. It's beautiful, bright, bold, turquoise, I guess would be the color. So congratulations, Sarah. We'll get that to you. We'll get that in the mail to you in just a bit. So anyway, the fun is continuing. Beginning in just a few minutes at noon, we are going to tour the Palo Verde generating station. So you're going to get a behind the scenes tour of the nuclear plant here and learn about the importance that it is in providing energy to probably you and many Arizonians. So thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more to come. And now we have a special message from the Be Kind. One more time, the Be Kind Dance Crew.
Learning about STEM is fun. Be sure to check back for more Connect2STEM TV. There's lots more to do. Don't forget you need to register here. Special thanks to our sponsors, Banner Health, APS for their great support. And be sure to follow Connect2STEM on Facebook.